Okay. Explain real quick, Geno. Welcome, everybody. This is a little new commentary thing that BOA is doing, and we're starting off with the brand new episode of Black Boots Revolution. Somebody asked about Be the Movement, why we do that at the beginning. You want to explain that real quick?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the Be the Movement is what I feel like is the force behind why we do our art. We're starting a revolution of artists being able to, create their own and stand behind their own art and make edgy, compelling, thought-provoking art.
Cool.
Oh,
right.
There's Zoe.
Yeah.
There's Zoe. What do you think about this? What do you think of? This is your favorite shot, Lamont. Why?
This is my favorite shot for this scene. Well, it's one of my favorites because there is another.
Okay.
But I felt like this being, an overhead shot, and I just really liked how it was framed, and I like him going to the bottom of the frame when he actually goes down on her. I thought that it just worked for me from an artistic perspective, and and I just thought it was, very interesting. And what did you think about, the music and the mood and everything, how it works, everything works together?
It was definitely like it set the pace of the scene. It gave a nice undertone. She looks like she's enjoying that, man.
I hope she's enjoying it. I feel like that was a very effective scene to open the new episode with. We've been gone for a while, and so looking at the scenes that we shot for the first couple new episodes, I felt like, okay, that's a great way to get people back. Black Boots is back.
Gotcha. So she just discovered that he was crying, man.
Yes. You want to kind of go into what your motivation was in writing this and what you were trying to convey?
I think from the beginning of the series, I think the scene was a little bit more about, although it looks like it's about Grant, it's really about, for me, how Zoe, it's a flip on relationships. Usually guys or girls are the ones that are a little bit more open with their emotions and how they feel. But yeah, I think the way we wrote and designed Zoe, she is the type of character that her reflections are more of a guy's or a typical guy type of action. So I think it's dope to see how it looks from a reverse perspective.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think it's always cool to switch it up and, not write characters in, really in stereotypes. That's something that I always try to remember when I'm writing as well, is to go against the type. Because as a storyteller, you really don't want to write a story that everybody can guess what's going to happen next, And human beings are a lot more full than we often on screen give them credit for, So I think it's a great dichotomy, switching it up like that between the two characters. So yeah.
So tell me about explain the color on this scene, Lamont.
Okay, well, it's a slight color a correction adjustment put on there. I'm always trying to, of course, try to keep in with the style that we've created from the series. So we're always trying to crush the blacks and make the colors pop out next to the deep blacks. That's the goal. On a couple of our shows, actually, it makes things more moody, and then we also play with the color and bring the colors out, like make them just a little bit more vibrant. Because I personally feel, as a filmmaker, that black directors don't put enough color in their stories. Ironically enough, we light very safely. We color correct very safely, and there's some things you can do to add, to up the artistic value of what's on screen. And I think BOA, we intentionally, we talk about this all the time, try to push those artistic boundaries. And so that's the purpose of finding something that works, that fits the mood.
True. I love this moment here. I think the motivation behind, there are 3 college girls that are, practicing their poems, but everybody that's been to college had it's a silly moment, but it's something that's very relatable to everybody. Everybody's had ramen noodles or cup of noodles, so I just thought it would be a nice touch to have Zoe come in and kind of, talk about her likes, if you will. Yeah.
Yes, and I thought it was funny how she was chomping on those noodles too. That was pretty. It was serious. But I really like seeing these girls together. I love the things that they have in there, especially when it's just the 3 of them. They form their own chemistry over the course of the season. And this is actually probably my most favorite scene that I've seen of them together, and it just kind of shows the bond that they built and that they're building, and I thought it was very effective. And I have to say, when I was editing this scene, that I thought that I was like, where's the scene? Is this are they rehearsing? Are they in the scene? Are they this before Geno says action? What's going on? Because it's so casual, but it was actually the scene, and it's very relaxed and comfortable, and it's just a very different scene for us, and I really like it.
I agree, and just to add to that, when I was writing, I said it was like the framework of the scene, but a lot of that was a little bit of impromptu. I just allowed the girls to be themselves in that moment.
Yeah, and we often don't get to do scenes like that, and I feel like they pulled that scene off very well, and I just like it a whole lot. And it speaks to the chemistry between not just the characters, but also the actresses themselves, because so much of what we do relies on the chemistry between the actors. So, like, for example, this scene right here, which I have to say, don't get mad at me for saying this, but this is one of those scenes that tends to be, we tend to do lengthy. What would you call scenes like this? With the guys, when they're we see them in the process. What do you call scenes like this, or what do you call this part of the process?
Well, what's happening right now is those are his brothers. Those are his old heads. So what happened was Parker, which is David Sands, called the big old heads in to kind of to rectify what he had done to Carla. Because Parker doesn't stand for that. And so he was sitting for, if you heard him say, a ruby. A ruby in my design was, when you sit down in the cut and you get 50 hits in a row. So that's why he broke on the last one.
Yeah,
but
I know.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, scenes like this, we do allow. How much improv do you allow in scenes like this? And why?
I think the framework is long as I just try to make sure that the actors are dropped in, making sure that they're intense, they recognize what they're talking about, and they hit the critical things that I need them to hit, as far as information, and then I let it go. I let them ride.
Yeah, they're always very effective. I feel like they're always very effective.
Yeah, like that right there when he snapped his shirt off. That's basically saying like you're not good enough to wear these letters anymore. That was in the script. That was impromptu.
See,
we did it once. We did it once, and we was like, yo, we got to do that again. Let's do that. So it worked.
How do you, as a director, get to the point where you feel comfortable letting actors improv outside of the lines in the script?
Right. Again, I just try to make sure that they hit they know the undertone of the scene and what I'm trying to convey as far as the information and anything that they can add to it as far as their character, not their actual personality that they bring to it, I kind of allow it. You know, if I see a moment that's going on past the line, I keep it rolling until I feel like that moment is over. But listen, I really want to talk about this scene, Lamont. I don't even know if you know, but one of my influences, big bro Charles Murray, so he inboxed me something last night, and it's this old film called Citizens Kane, bro, and it's a scene from the projector room. You seen that?
Yeah, I saw it in college.
Listen, bro,
it's been a long time.
He told me to watch that and watch what this scene looks like. He was like, look, you don't even know what you were doing with this scene as far as the lighting, right. the central character in the middle, and the guy just, you know, to encouraging the onlookers to talk. He was like, listen, bro, you don't even know what the hell you were doing, but you shot this historically. And I was watching it, and, you know, it matches Citizen Kane in our own way. Pretty. If you don't know that movie, then people should go check that movie out. If you're a filmmaker, this is crazy.
And he's talking about even because of how it's lit too, right?
Yes. No, that's more importantly about how it's lit. Yeah.
Yeah, because whoever's talking steps into the middle where it's lit, and everybody else is kind of, you know, under muted lighting. And I think it's a very effective scene. So can we talk just real briefly, because I know this scene's about to go off, but how do we light? Not to give away our secrets, but I feel like we have a style of lighting. I always say we light very specifically. You know, we have our eye tends to go towards more of a minimalistic approach, but I feel like we've learned over the years how to use minimal lighting effectively. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, do you want to talk a little bit about, you know, lighting and kind of what you do on set to achieve what you're trying to achieve?
I think you nailed it. I think just as much as, for me, the lighting is just as much a character in the scene as whomever is in the scene, like this scene with Parker and Davis. It was very important for me to highlight sides of their faces, and never that. You like that shot right there. You know, I know you helped it with the color, but it was important for me to make sure. It's always important for me that lighting is very specific to the tone of the scene, in addition to make it his own character within the series. So I don't do a lot of. I like to like natural light and allow to use whatever in that environment to inspire to also inspire the scene.
Yeah, and we do add.
A lot of people bag us for how dark, how we light, but this is our signature. So you know, we welcome people to understand that, you know, this is done for a very specific reason. The way we light and highlight cheekbones and muscles, and sometimes you can only see the teeth of someone talking. That's done intentionally. Yeah,
and we do actually we do add light, but you would never know it because our purpose is to make it look natural. You know what I mean? You know, not to say that we won't ever do projects or haven't done projects where, you know, there's things are fully lit, but we try to be guided by the mood and the tone that we're trying to set on screen for that particular story. And that's key. You have to know what you're trying to convey, you know. And you know, a lot of actors actually sometimes they run from that. If you don't fully like them, they're like, wait, what are you doing? But it's all
right. Or they question that you know what you're doing. Like, get out of here. Yeah. Listen, real quick before we get into this thing, what do you think about Parker? You know, what about Davis leaving his hand like that when he was talking about praying with him? What do you? I wrote that scene and you tweaked it to make sure that happened. Why did you do that?
Well, I felt like I didn't, you know, Davis, like many of the characters in the show, Davis is a very complex character to me. And I just felt like, you know, we could do that, but I don't know if he would do that as easily. Because, you know, it's going to take Davis a little bit to change, you know what I mean? And even though he's sitting back and he was in the room with the guys and they were, going in on him, as far as what he's done to Carla, I don't feel like he totally has really accepted the fact that, okay, I've got to change. This has to change. I mean, maybe he's getting there, but he's not totally there yet. So I felt like it was a little bit, disingenuous for him to, okay, yeah, let's pray. Give me your hand, let's pray. That's maybe how it's done in the Tyler Perry film. But in real life, things aren't tied up so easily, nice little bow, and I felt like, no, I can see him kind of resisting something like that at first until he really gets it, you know?
Yeah.
And I felt like that was a little more complex to say, oh, well, okay, he's not totally there yet, so what's he going to do, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, give it up for Brooklyn. What's up, Brooklyn? You in the building trying to rep the theta?
That's right.
Oh.
Brooklyn and Miss Stephanie, Zoe's mom, Stephanie.
Stephanie's a lawyer. Yeah, Stephanie's a lawyer, and she's also from Beta, and she's a Theta, and she's from Beta chapter. So she takes it personal, and she makes sure that she tries to make sure that she's close to the temperature of what's going on campus. So, she in this moment, she's going in there to talk to Dr. Freeman, who has the power to suspend or not suspend their chapter, to help out. But Brooklyn steps up and says, "Hey, I appreciate the walk-in, but I am the president of this chapter. I can work it. I can make sure that we're fine. But I'm not leaving here without speaking my mind." That's kind of what's going on.
Well, you know what? I have to be honest with you. Brooklyn lost some points with me in this scene.
She did?
She did. Because I felt like she was being very obnoxious, and I felt like she was disrespectful, and I didn't appreciate, And then on top of it, I have to honestly say too, I think Stephanie lost a couple points with me too, because I feel like Brooklyn should have conducted herself a little bit better. And I don't feel like that showed a little bit of immaturity on Brooklyn's part, which I think is obvious in the scene. However, just a deeper look at the character, I was just like, that was pretty immature of you, and you've got some growing still to do. Which is great, perfect, because they're still in college, and that's part of what we are showing in this show. So I have to say that. Look at Isaac Keys, star of The Therapist by Geno Brooks.
So, you wrote this scene.
I wrote this scene.
behind this scene and the characters.
Well, we talked a second ago about not wanting to stereotype the characters or their experiences, and trying to figure out where is Carla going next, and trying to figure out, okay, how is she going to end the season? How is her storyline going to end the season? I feel like Carla's just in a certain space, and even a scene like this, which, really what's going on here is in the nonverbal, in the nonverbals, and so my thing with this scene is I didn't want it to come off like you could really predict exactly what's going to happen next with her character, and I guess the fans won't really know that until they see what happens next to know if we did that or not. But
does that mean that I got what you wanted out of that scene?
Definitely. And I really feel like both actors played the scene very, very, very well. I appreciated that they played it with subtlety, and it was honest, and it was genuine, and it plays that way. And I really think that the fans will be surprised to see where this is gonna go.
Yeah. You know what I like about it? I like the fact that it's the beginning of it's the vulnerability on all aspects from her. Taking the reason why she, going to speak up for herself as well is because she also wants to, finish Theta. That's important to her. Oh, did you see that look? Look at her like that.
That's right. Thank you guys for, checking out this commentary episode with the director Geno Brooks, myself, Lamont, Pierré, one of the thank you. Please be the movement and continue to support. And if you like this commentary, let us know. We can do some more.
Absolutely. Peace.